Welcome to the Big Mike Fun Podcast, where you'll learn about advanced wealth building strategies from real estate investing to creating massive ROI and secured retirement profits. So pour yourself a cup of coffee, grab a notepad, and lean in. Because Big Mike has got the mic, starting now.
Welcome to the Big Mike Fun Podcast. I'm the Big Mike.
Mike Zlatnik, and today it is my pleasure and a privilege to welcome Liz Faircloth. Hey, Liz.
Hey, Mike, how are you? Thanks so much for having me on today.
Thank you kindly for coming on a podcast. And just quick introduction of Liz. She is originally co-founded the Rosa Group, her husband, 2005, and out of Trenton, New Jersey. And she's grown her, investment portfolio from 30,000 loan to $100 million real estate empire. But her latest venture is the Real Estate InvestHER mastermind community, as well as the podcast. And so welcome to the show. And tell the audience a little bit about you. Where do you live? And a couple of words about you and your family first.
Sure. So I live in a little town called New Hope, Pennsylvania. I was born and raised in New Jersey, so definitely still a Jersey girl, as they say, but definitely, we moved for lower taxes, like a lot of us want to do. So I have two kids, 10 and 7-year-old, boy and a girl, keep me very, very busy and on my toes. Definitely the hardest job that I have as a mom, most rewarding, but toughest, right? And it's always keeps me on my toes, helps me grow as a entrepreneur and as a person all the time. I've been married almost 19 years with my husband. We got our start in this business, grew a portfolio together. And now I'm involved in our DeRosa portfolio, but also mostly involved with what I'm doing as a co-founder of InvestHER. So what were the other questions? Did I cover those bases, the personal?
Yeah, you're good. That's the wonderful thing. You live in a lot of people from New Jersey move to Pennsylvania, a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
It's kind of I've seen that pattern. It's kind of funny how it works.
It's the migration, right?
Well, property taxes and the state income tax, I think, is lower in both. The property taxes in New Jersey, most people don't really know this, but per dollar of value, New Jersey has the highest tax rate on real estate taxes in the country. I looked it up, and it was real anecdotally, and it was real statistically. So a lot of people just move a little over the border, and they get the same benefits of the community, but pay a little bit better taxes.
Yeah, and I invested. We got our start in New Jersey. That's really Pennsylvania was where we bought our first property. But we bought and really scaled our portfolio for the first 8 years, me and my husband in New Jersey, and in Trenton in New Jersey and the surrounding area for many years. And then it started to become okay, because we raised money. We collaborate with investors, obviously passive, and it just didn't make sense because of the taxes. So we sold a lot of those, or pretty much the whole portfolio in New Jersey, and redeployed it. But it was both on a personal and a business perspective. The taxes became just really hard to manage and deal with.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and you have a wonderful family. I know how it is, and it's a very important responsibility. It keeps you on your toes, keeps you busy. So
yeah.
That's awesome. Now let's go to the main discussion, the Real Estate InvestHER community. Tell folks a little bit more about that. And it's a unique, I don't know too many people who do it just only for women. Maybe it's more empowering. It feels like you exclude men, and in real estate, usually it's more men than women. But
exactly. Yeah, it's funny. I was actually at the point where I left my corporate job, Mike, around 2012, 2013. And I was very good friends with Andressa, and we'd always be talking about, we had a mastermind for women only, like a Skype. We had 6 of us that got together every month supporting each other. So long before InvestHER, we always had, this need, not just for ourselves, but for other women to have like that safe space. And at the same time I left my corporate job, I was involved in DeRosa full time. And there's something missing for me. I felt actually pretty alone, pretty hollow, purposeless, if you will. I didn't feel very connected to what we were doing. Finally, our business was thriving enough to pay us enough to grow our, personal life. I just had a little baby. I had a newborn And I was working full time with my husband, and I left my corporate job, and I felt really just disconnected, to be honest, Mike. And at the same time, really got a chance to get to know Andressa. We started this mastermind for women, free. It was just 6 of us across the country. And then we kind of realized we had this shared passion when it came to supporting women. And we'd go to events, we'd be Googling communities for women in investing. And honestly, Mike, we couldn't find anything. We couldn't find a safe space of women, not just talking about investing, but your kids and living life on your own terms and all the things that come up. And so we said, okay, well, we're going to start a community then, not just for ourselves, but for other women. So we started with a podcast that led to, we've been doing our podcast. We have over 500 episodes. We started with a Facebook community. We have over 16,000 women in that community. That led us to doing a meetup where we said, okay, let's get women physically together in a local group, which was Philadelphia at the time. And other women on the Facebook group were like, well, do you have a meetup in Austin? Do you have a meetup in LA? We're like, well, we can't do it, but maybe we could have some volunteers doing it. So we have 40 plus meetups across the country of local women coming together. And then we do our national conference every year. But it's all about helping women get the knowledge, the skills, and the support so they can grow the portfolio they want to grow on their own terms. It's not about doors. It's not about one strategy. It's about what's going to work for them and their lifestyle to really create generational wealth.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I guess it's a great mission, great purpose. Empowering girls, especially in real estate. It's a great. What's the best way to describe it? It's inspirational. It's I mean, I have 3 girls and a boy, and it's kind of interesting that I think my boy is going to need more help than the girls. So the hilarious part is girls seem to be more, at least in my family, they're more leadership. But there are plenty of families where the girls are a little bit more shy and they don't feel comfortable to step forward and to take on a lead role. I guess that's why it makes a difference. So how do you run these meetings? Is this just basically, is there a structured format? Is there an agenda? You just get together, talk about different issues? Because these meetups are wonderful, but hopefully it helps folks move with a purpose. Are they all passive investors? Some of them are active. They're looking to take on building community or whatever strategy they want to execute. I'm just curious how do you empower women to be successful, whichever way they want to do it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what we find, Mike, is that we really serve, and the meetups are not just where women come together and chit chat. For women to get to a meeting, a physical meeting of any type, there's a lot that has to happen for them to make that happen, right? They're juggling a lot of different things. All people are. So we want those meetings to be very, have some structure and really have the ability to not just network, but to be clear of like, what can I give to this group and what can I get? Because every investor, if you will, and I'm sure you know this on your end, Mike, is we all have something to give and we all need something to grow our business. So we have the gamut. What we find is there's 4 types of women that tend to come, not just to our chapters, we call them our meetups, or our chapters, not so much our meetups, but are in our community and also come to our conference. We have the woman that's never bought a property before, but she has the wherewithal. She definitely has the wherewithal to buy her first property, but she just doesn't know what she doesn't know. And she really needs the support around her to make that, to take that step. Then there's women who have like bought 1, 2, 3 properties. And now they're like, okay, how did I figure out the market? What's the better way to analyze a deal? And then they're getting into their kind of structure of their portfolio a little bit deeper and making sure they're doing what they need to do to grow. And then we also serve a group of women who've done 10 plus deals or more. They're scaling their portfolios. They do this full time. However, they're doing it all themselves, right? They're like a solopreneur. So they're the ones going to Home Depot. They're the ones doing their bookkeeping, and it's killing them. So they've traded one job for now and their own job, if you will, as a solopreneur. And then we have a 4th woman, and I know, Mike, you know a lot of these folks, is that they're passive investors, or they want to be more passive. They're kind of tired what they see in with paper assets or other alternative investing, and they like real estate. They don't want to do it all themselves. They're just not too sure the way to embark on being more passive. So those are the types of women we see the most in our community. And they all they all need a certain level of knowledge. Like, what's the right thing I need to know? What are the skills I need to have? And then where are the women around me that could support me doing what I need to be doing or want to be doing? Because it takes all three of those things, Mike. If you Google how to buy a property or how to be a passive investor or how to save legally in taxes, you'll get knowledge. But the question is, I need information I can't Google, meaning a woman's experience, or I've been doing this for 20 years, right? I've scaled a portfolio. Can you find all that online? Sure, but not necessarily of like the ins and the outs, the do's and the don'ts. And so that's what the community is there. But it's not just a community, Mike. Like, you go to community, you go to different, you're part of different communities. People are kind of giving the wrong information, or it's self-serving, or it doesn't have any structure. So we really blend the best of all three of those pieces: knowledge, skills, and support. So women can create their own path. And it's not just one way, it's multiple ways, from, Airbnb to commercial to, self-storage to mobile home to multifamily to renting by the room, strategy, and single family. So it runs the gamut of strategy, but it's about the goals and where women are today and where do they need to go.
Yeah, this is very powerful. I can only imagine that you're helping the different folks in different stages of their life. I was talking to my second girl, who is still college, and she's just so energized. She's helping with a business. But what is the next step? You need that guide. That's what I'm hearing. You provide not just the knowledge, but the wisdom of experience with other folks.
Well, it's funny, Mike, what I find, and here's just some interesting stats that I have come to learn. Again, we started with the original premise that we really wanted to create a space for women, and we felt like other women needed the same thing because it tended to be a little more male dominated. Now, 6 years later, from starting InvestHER to now, there's so many interesting statistics. So, and I'm going to answer that question you just mentioned. Number one, women control about $10 trillion of U.S. investable assets in the United States. That's going to 30 trillion in the next 3 to 5 years. So there's a tremendous wealth transfer that's happening for a lot of different reasons, but more and more wealth is coming into the hands of women to be making decisions on investing decisions. Now, at the same time, their confidence in making, kind of managing money, again, being general, but women overall are very confident when it comes to managing money. It's like 79% of managing the household finances, managing the finances. That 79% drops to 19% when it comes to investing decisions. So that's like literally, Mike, why we exist, is to increase that 19% significantly so women are more confident making the decisions. And you and I both know it's not just the knowledge. Knowledge isn't going to make me feel more confident. It's about being around other women, doing what I want to be doing something that is maybe not in the news, or I can't just talk to my neighbors, like my group of mom friend neighbors, no offense. I love them all, but they're not investing in real estate, right? They're not getting a HELOC on their house. They're not making passive decisions. At least my friends aren't. Nothing against them. So I want to surround myself with other women who are taking those steps and are growing as a woman, and all the things that we're managing and navigating. So that's what it's about, right, Mike? It's not just the knowledge or the community, it's the two, because, as you get older, and I know this for men as well, your friend circles shift, right? You tend to be friends with your other neighbors because all of our kids are the same age, not necessarily because we're all investing in real estate together, right? So you have to put yourself in proactive circles of other people that are doing it, so you don't feel quite so alone. Or you're talking to your friends about something, they're like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what a HELOC is. I don't care about a HELOC. Let's just talk about something else, right? So that's what it's really about, to have that level of structure and that level of community with women that are playing in an arena that you want to be playing in, or that you are playing in.
Yeah, it's so relevant. I go think about women in my life, and it actually makes a lot of sense. And they're different needs at different ages and different stages. And quite often, as you pointed out, maybe men just drop sooner or younger, and women ultimately come into more wealth and then they have to manage investment decisions, and they're not easy. And if they haven't been involved earlier in their life and their career, then it's a really difficult decision. But empowering them earlier makes from my perspective, makes a big difference. So meetups, you do some stuff, I guess, virtually to the website and communities. Talk a little bit about that, and then question one of the topics you speak on: why women make better investors than men. So share some wisdom there.
Yeah, I'd love to. And the other stat I'll share is that when women do invest, they actually, there's multiple studies that show women outperform men. So when women are, and it's not saying they're better investors, they're going to be more cautious in general, again, more cautious investors. So when they finally pull the trigger, it's typically the right call. It's the right decision. Where again, being super general, but you'll see a lot of counterparts, right? Male counterparts will probably pull the trigger sooner, but may or may not be making the right call on their decisions. They could be, but what I find is women may take a little longer to make that call, but when they do, they've done the due diligence. They've looked at all the pieces of the puzzle. So that's why I think there's a piece there of outperforming. It's not necessarily about, being smart or not. I think it's just they wait to pull the trigger. When they do, it's the right one, typically. So
let me just dive a little more into this, because this is a very interesting observation. I've heard of this, but I just kind of haven't thought about why. So maybe caregivers and taking care of the kids just requires more cautious, more conservative, more analytical. Well, I'm not sure if the word analytical would be the right word, but more, I guess, safety oriented, assurity, safety, downside protection, making sure that the money is put at a lower level of risk. Is that the sort of the crux of the
I think it even starts out.
It's a tough topic, but I would love to really dig why women make better decisions than men. Men could be more, they see something, they like something, they pull the trigger. Well, you said women will take their time, review, analyze, gain more confidence, which sounds logical to me. Sounds like it makes sense. I don't know if statistics exist out there. Maybe genuinely women make. By the way, I was sorry, I'm just going back. I was reading. I'm trying to remember. Is either Richer, Wiser, Happier, or another book where there's some really interesting observations, and there were similar studies that women somehow become better, actually, investment managers than men, for the reasons you described. Somehow, what you are contemplating or stating has a lot of merit, although for men to admit that women are superior making investment decisions, it's a matter of pride, and some men have a lot big ego.
Sure. And I didn't say superior. I didn't say superior. Here's the other interesting thing I'll say, though, Mike, that the number one reason, and I don't know the number one reason for men, I should, but the number one reason that women invest in particularly real estate is to create a legacy, right? So there's this like generational wealth legacy play that when you think about it, then if they're making decisions on buying that next rental property, or it's their first rental property, they're not doing it necessarily for anything else but to literally pass something along to the next generation, right? Their children. So that's a big deal. So if you think about the motivation to get it right and to be making the right call, if you will, I would imagine that stake is higher than, say, I want to be able to, whatever other reasons that other people, right, buy real estate. I'll give you a really quick example of I think this plays out in social conditioning from a gender role perspective. I mean, this is a big conversation, right? That I don't know if I have all the answers for, but I'll just tell you a very quick example. And I think it stems back to this piece of, okay, there's a level of cautiousness, but that serves them well as sometimes undersells themselves. I go to a lot of conferences like you, Mike, and I'll meet people and they'll be like, oh, I love your stuff. I love your podcast. And I met a gentleman. This is a true story. And he tells me a little bit about his portfolio. And I said, oh, how many doors do you have? He goes, I have 5. I am killing it. I am doing amazing. I am killing it. I'm like, that's great. I love your confidence. That's great. So I have that conversation with him. Hours later, I have another conversation with a female. And she goes, I love your podcast. Thank you so much. I said, I'm glad I'm able to put it out there and it's helping you. I said, well, how many, what are you up to? What does your portfolio look like? She goes, I'm just getting started. I have 5 properties. So while one thinks they're killing it, literally, they're a real estate mogul. The other one thinks they're literally just getting started. So I do think that way of being, and it is not the only time I've had that experience, the overselling, the underselling, I think it does play out in cautiousness and risk taking. I think it also plays out in women being under the radar. And they could be killing it, but they're not necessarily going to start the conversation that way. And maybe they should, right, Mike? Both of them should say maybe they're killing it or they're newbies. I don't know there's no right or wrong. It's just, that's not uncommon to have that experience. And I think that stems back to social conditioning, gender roles, from when boys and girls are in school, right? When they're in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. So there's a whole lot around it. I don't know if I have all the answers but I know as adults, right? What people need to move the needle is knowing that you can be confident, increasing. They're already successful in different areas of our lives, Mike. I don't know about you, but you work with a lot of passive investors and folks that are successful. They can deploy that same success as someone, looking to buy more property or even just passively invest. We need to do more of that as people. Like, okay, what do I already do well? I can deploy here. I don't think enough women think that way. I don't know about men. I can't speak to that for them, but I've studied our women and I've studied the community. And when women apply what they already know, or honestly, the skills they already have, that actually makes them even better equipped to be a good investor with some knowledge gaps that there are. I'm not saying that they don't need to learn anything, but if that makes sense.
This is very cool.
Give you some
I
context.
really like this example. Women take more humility and men can take a little more overconfidence. It's a very cool observation. Although women, as you said, they need to build more confidence to take more action because they're taking more humble approach with less overstatement how much they accomplish, while the man, even a small accomplishment can look like a big deal.
Yeah, big deal.
Maybe it's the macho man. That's what I don't know if they call it macho woman. Macho man.
I don't, it's so fascinating, right? When you start something, you just know there's a need, and there's a need because you want to be part of it. I was the avatar. I'm not a newbie by any means, but so much of my passion and purpose comes from helping other women, right? So it's not just about buying property. I'm an active investor as well. I passively invest. I'm an active investor. But now it's like another level of just, okay, how do you create this space for other people that want it as well? And that's where the passion comes in. But I'm super intrigued with the conversation because it is about the behavioral change, right, Mike? Anyone looking to make a positive change in their life needs to make a behavioral change. Doesn't happen by osmosis, right? It doesn't happen by just sitting in your house and hoping for it, right? It does take action, but you don't have to do it yourself, right? Meaning you don't have to do it by yourself, I should say. And that's what we always suggest is that, it's always the old adage, Mike, that a lot of women will be out with their friends and like, hey, who needs to go to the bathroom? Who wants to go to the bathroom? And women go to the bathroom together, not in the same stall, but they'll go to, men don't do that, right? They don't like rally men up and go to the bathroom together. So women do things in groups, right? Look at the mud runs, look at all of these movements that are out there, drones of women doing it together around a common cause. We're just bringing that energy, that group kind of support, if you will, to real estate investing. It's pretty much that's what we're. So it's big, right? You look at all the other group things that are happening especially for women in different topics, different passions. We're just trying to get that moving and make it happen on the investing side.
Yeah, that's very cool. It's strength in numbers, community, belonging to a community, I guess maybe more of a natural state for women than men. It's interesting. So let's continue the conversation. So you run the annual event, you
Mhm.
run you have the podcast, and then you have obviously the virtual and physical meetups. What's the next step in the journey? Is it all focused on real estate, women in real estate, or is this some financial planning, number of other things? Because basically, what I found in the game of investing, a lot
Mhm.
of misconceptions. People either they either go too heavy, all they want to do is real estate, or all they want to do stock market, and everything is a balance at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So just curious if you're providing other education, helping folks to, is this a full-time thing for one person, for another person? It's just better to be on a passive journey, not to be overwhelmed with property ownership. Because I'll tell you
Great
this,
point.
with the properties, whether they're called turnkeys or even commercial, uh, if you go deeper, sooner or later you have to become a professional, like anything else. And
Yep.
if you don't, then you got to work and partner with professionals.
Correct. Yeah, that's a great question. What we do, especially with investors, there's three pillars of what we will teach from a knowledge perspective, right? And a skill perspective. Real estate investing is kind of the core. However, a lot of women have diversified portfolios. So a lot of the women we serve in our mentorship program is at a point of, okay, am I too heavily in real estate? Do I want to do some diversification in maybe paper assets? Do I even want to buy a business? Because now they're intrigued with maybe something that they're just getting frustrated with certain deals that are coming across their plate. A lot of the women are active and passive, so they might have that self-directed IRA, with somebody with a team like yours, Mike, or they're actively buying that single family home. So what we find is that there are women across the board, from I've never bought a property to I want to scale. I want to scale a portfolio. But what we find though is real estate, business, and self-care are the three pillars that we teach. So often real estate is kind of a strategy, if you will. The business, are you running your real estate like a business? Are you set up for success? Which then comes into the finances, the building a team, making sure you're creating SOPs, standard operating procedures, so you can walk away from possibly the management of your properties or whatever it might be. And then along the way, are you taking care of yourself, which should be the primary. What we find is a lot of the women in our community will do things at the detriment of themselves. So whether that's no boundaries or they leave their job in corporate America to have all this time freedom in real estate to be basically beholden to another job. It's their own job. They're their own bosses, but that also then plays out this solopreneurship where a lot of women are just quite honestly killing themselves. And I'm sure a lot of men are too, especially when you're building your portfolio. So those are the three kind of tenets, if you will, or principles that we do a lot of content around. We teach a lot around for Investor Con, which happens every year. It's our annual conference. We have about 400 people at our conference, some great companies there as sponsors. What we do there is we always have those three pillars. And so we have content around those three. Last year, though, we had a panel on alternative investing. So a woman that was interested in buying businesses, she shared a little bit of insight. We had a woman that does option trading on the stock side. So we definitely prefer a diversified sort of educational platform, because the women we're serving they're looking to build generational wealth. So you can't get away from the fact that all those pieces of the puzzle, tax strategies, come up as part of the puzzle versus just how do you buy your next property, which you can't deny, but it's not the only conversation that's had. And we do a lot of tough love, Mike. This is a group that during our conference, we bring a woman up on stage and we do like a mastermind session where she shares a challenge in front of everybody. And we pretty much support her and ask her questions and give her some advice in front of everyone to basically have a breakthrough in her business. And sometimes it's not about buying another property. Maybe it's about boundaries, or maybe it's about her self-worth, or maybe it's about some shame, especially when it comes to money and finances. And there's a lot of emotion that can go around that, right? It's not just the investment strategy. So that's the kind of work we're doing. It's not just the strategic or tactical. It's kind of sometimes underneath. We're not therapists, but we certainly will go there with women because that's where the breakthrough is. That's where the growth happens. That's where women are going to be able to get to the next level.
Yeah, that's fascinating. It's I go back and I think some of the mastermind groups I've gone to. There's one group that I go to called the Collective Genius. It's a lot of
Yes,
real
I've heard of
estate.
that.
And honestly, go in the room and you see 9 to 10 ratio, 90% men, 10% women. And I go back and I think how uncomfortable sometimes what women must feel. Some of them are completely fine; they get used to this environment. But there's plenty of women who would be in a much safer place in a women community where they're learning the same kind of ideas, how to run a business better, or how to run real estate better, and what are the options in real estate, and then ultimately, I guess personal care or financial, just legacy. It's fascinating. Most people want to find affinity or community or something close to. Sometimes these are religious communities, sometimes
Yeah,
these are based on even occupation, and sometimes, like you said, all the moms in a neighborhood, they could have a cooking club, right?
sure.
But the same way you could be investing club. So it's very, very powerful observation, and I just wanted to say thank you for doing this. It's a wonderful mission. And how would folks reach out to you? I assume it's only women, right? You don't serve men, so what's the best way to reach out? And before we part, any good book recommendation?
Book recommendations. Wow, I'm reading actually building brand communities. So I'm always fascinated. I literally just spoke on building a community at a conference from about 100 people, but I'm also fascinated with really creating that community of people that there's a stickability, there's a value set. So that's the book I'm reading right now because that's just something I'm really intrigued by and committed to. In terms of like business, that's
How
the
do I
one I'm
reach out? The real estate investor.com, is that
yeah.
the
Yeah, the best way to get connected to us, I would say, is for folks listening, join our free Facebook group. If you literally go to Facebook, facebook.com, and then you put in the search box, just so I make sure I'm doing it right, but it's the InvestHER Community. Highly recommend, just to and I'll give this to you too, Mike, so you can put it in the show notes. But the InvestHER Community, we're on Instagram, but to engage and get connected that's the best way. We're always putting out events, things we're doing there. And then go to our website, the Real Estate InvestHER, HER.com. And all of our chapters, like the local groups of women will be there, and you can join our membership there. You can join, how to get involved in those. So
Yeah, that's very, very cool. Appreciate your wisdom and sharing. And good luck with your mission. Hope
thank you.
you have a community in every town, in every city.
Thank you. That's the goal. That's the goal.
Well,
Thank you
in
for having me
today's
on.
day and age, virtual meetings could be very powerful too. It's one thing
Yes.
that always has. I don't know if they do this. I don't think they do this community just for men. That'll sound so male chauvinist if they said just for men, but for women, it's definitely empowering. But
Yes.
what I'm thinking is some people just don't like to go. I don't like to go to busy, loud places with a lot of people talking. Some people prefer virtual events.
Yeah,
So I'm
absolutely.
sure you have a lot of empowerment. And folks have kids and they're busy and then they got to take care of the family.
We have, and by the way, we also have free events. So we do 2 free events every month, and those are virtual too. So those are all found on our website, and we have them on different strategies, different things that are coming up that are educationally oriented too. So definitely a lot of different ways to engage with our community, but get involved and start asking questions and putting yourself out there, taking small action. That's where movement happens. So
Thank you. That's so awesome. Appreciate you and appreciate you coming on a podcast.
yes, thank you for having me, Mike.
Thank you for listening to the Big Mike Fund Podcast. To receive your copy of Mike's How to Choose a Smart Real Estate Fund book, head to BigMikeFund.com or visit Amazon and type Mike's slot name. Keep listening and keep investing Big Mike style. See you on the next episode.